Hello, everybody. It's me. It's your boy. Not so much boy as in random guy who, for some reason, you're watching his video. This might honestly be one of the more unique videos I'm doing so far because it's not about an animated show this time. I'm finally doing something live action. Because people treat live action like it's better than animation for some reason. I grew up on animation, and that's the career, and the creating animated stuff is something I want to do in the future. So, yeah, I don't get it, but I do want to get into more live action shows, since I know a lot of them are iconic, and a lot of them I need to see, or at least I want to see. And one of the big ones is The Office, which my mother and especially like my brother, they love Office. My brother actually has the entire series on DVD, which is how I'm watching these, by the way. This is the first time I'm using a DVD to watch something and not just a streaming service. Do I really need to get into The Office? I feel like it's such a popular show. We all know what The Office is, right? Talking about US, by the way, but I feel like that's obvious. No one talks about the original UK, which is funny because, again, that was the original one, but now everyone just thinks of US. Once again, the Americans getting all the love. Only 6 episodes. So how does someone like me who's never seen it think about this first episode, this season 1? We're going to find out now. Episode 1, Pilot. Regional manager Michael Scott takes us through his company, but there's a threat with downsizing the company. I gave this episode a 3 out of 5. Honestly, I have very little to say about this episode. It has the typical things of the pilot. Not good. I can't say it's a good episode, but it at least gives you an idea on what the basis of The Office is. That it's a show about people in an office. Michael Scott, the legend himself, that's what she said guy, is the boss. We have Dwight, who is the assistant to the regional manager. We also have Jim and Pam, and those are all the ones I think in season 1 really contributed much. I know there's plenty of other Office people who are going to continue to get better, so maybe as the show goes on, I'll have more to say about them, but as for now, I don't really have much to say about them for any of these episodes, honestly. Yeah, this is a pretty meh pilot. It barely felt like there was a plot. It felt like it was more just a series of things happening rather than much of a real story. Still not bad. Not a bad first episode. It just means I have very little to say other than just it was okay. In terms of best moments, we have What's Up? We have the iconic stapler and the Jello. And then Ryan adding to the joke a bit was pretty funny. We also had Michael pretending to fire Pam, which my brother hates that moment for some reason. I think it's because in this original season, apparently Michael is more unlikable. Can't comment for how because I've never seen the show, but I found it fun. So I don't care. That's our brother, who I'm not going to say the name of to respect me. You're so wrong. That was a good scene. Good scene. It's funny. I should just move on to episode 2, shouldn't I? That's the smart option. No. Episode 2, Diversity Day. It's Diversity Day for The Office, but Michael makes his own version after he thinks the first version was bad. Okay, so despite having a decent amount of good moments, I think it was a 2 out of 5 overall. Mediocre. I found this to be a mediocre episode, which is weird because people always say the first episode of The Office is one of the worst ones. And in general, people aren't too positive on season 1 of The Office, even Office fans. I don't know. If you're an Office fan, please comment. Again, these videos half of the reason I make these videos is because I want to hear people comment and like tell me their thoughts on it so we can share our thoughts. So, but I don't know. I honestly enjoyed this one way less than the pilot, despite there being more like individually there was more good moments, but as a whole, I just really didn't like this one. Michael was just annoying, not like the funny annoying. When that Indian woman who apparently created Velma slapped Michael, that was funny. I liked that. In terms of other favorite moments, we have the Homer Simpson plush that was at the very beginning of the episode because I am a diehard Simpsons fan. So any reference to Simpsons, I always like. It gives me a bit of dopamine in the brain, you know. We also have Michael's idea of talking about diversity, which is just everyone going around and saying a race they're attracted to, which I just find really funny. Same thing with Dwight describing his idea of a hero. That's funny. And what Pam's like, and I guess based on stereotypes, I think you're not too good at driving. Dwight's all like, I'm a woman? That was awesome. I loved that. Bunch of good moments, but as a whole, Michael was just so annoying. He honestly made the whole episode just worse. So I know a lot of people say Michael was like not that good in season 1 and he improves as a character. And I hope they're true because boy, oh boy, did I not like season 1 Michael. Or I guess this episode, I guess I already spoiled it, didn't I? Whatever. You're going to see my thoughts on how I feel about this entire season real soon. Get ready, Office fans. Episode 3, Healthcare. Michael plans healthcare for the office, but he gets to wait to do it instead. Another 2 out of 5. Another one I found mediocre, but I did like it more than Diversity Day. It's a pretty boring episode. Again, much like with the first 2 episodes, it feels like there's barely like plots. They're just excuses for random moments to happen based off like a general setup, and that could work. But honestly, the way they do it honestly comes off as lazy. Like they couldn't really think of much, so they just put all this random stuff in. In terms of the very few good moments, I guess Michael trying to come up with an excuse to stay in the office to not deal with everyone is funny. Dwight saying he has superior genes, it got a laugh out of me. And Dwight loving Count Chocula was good purely because I also love Count Chocula. So, I mean, we all know Boo Berry's the best one, but Count Chocula is a close second. We don't need Frankenberry. Frankenberry more like Fruity Berry. Sorry, gays. Episode 4, The Alliance. Michael tries to improve company morale. Meanwhile, Dwight thinks they're downsizing, so he makes an alliance with Jim, which Jim uses to prank him. Okay, so to go back to the downsizing thing that was in season 1, from the first episode, that's good. It really annoyed me that they didn't really come up with much of an ending for that episode, so at least they're bringing it up again. I didn't find anyone annoying in this episode, therefore it's a 3. Michael's birthday jokes, his Star Trek bit, and Dwight's gun show. That was it. That was the beginning and end of the highlights. Meh episode. Worse than the pilot, but still one of the better ones. Episode 5, Basketball. The Office be ballin'. Can you tell I'm bored with the season? The real highlight of this episode is Jim's quote of, "This is the smallest amount of power I've ever seen go to someone's head." And then we also have Dwight's outfit, which is just anime girl. Nice. I mean, I don't really watch or really care for anime, but still, good for you, Dwight. Good for you. 3 out of 5. I feel like this is the most liked season 1 episode, but honestly, I didn't think it was that much better than the rest. I actually like it like less than Pilot and the Alliance. I feel like this episode has a core problem I have with the season, which is the repetitive comedy. Now I get that, especially for shows, you kind of need some of like bits that you kind of go from episode to episode. But something that got very annoying for me was that a lot of the jokes in this season are just Michael does something really cringe, and everyone else in the office just doesn't like it because it's so obviously cringe, and it's not. It occasionally works with the birthday jokes from last episode. I thought that was good, but more often than not, it just falls flat, and honestly makes the whole thing feel repetitive. And this episode was a prime example of that, and it just got boring after a while. Episode 6, Hot Girl. There's a girl named Katie, and she's hot, apparently. Michael hits on her, Dwight crushes on her, and Pam's jelly. We have a special treat here, Z-Man fans. All -7 of you. This is not only a 1 out of 5, but this is the first episode where I had no good moments. In literally every other video I did where I had favorite moments, there was always one for everything else. But not this episode. This episode was bad. Oh, wow, this one was painfully boring. I think this is another one of the lesser-liked Season 1 episodes, and I agree with you there, Office fans. This was a bad episode. Easily the worst. I thought Diversity Day was the worst, but nah. It was just boring. There was nothing going on. It was straight up, again, this is what I talked about earlier. There's barely a plot. It's just, you're some saleswoman, and she's cute, so Michael and Dwight both try to get with her, but she ends up falling for Jim. And Pam's jealous despite the fact that she's very obviously in a relationship with Roy, which, in terms of the whole Pam and Roy relationship thing we see throughout the season, I felt a little bad for her, but then I realized she chose to be in this relationship with this guy and has gotten out. So, really, Pam, if you're really or this jelly about a Jim, then just break up with Roy. Bad episode, very obviously the worst. You know what? Bad season, honestly. 1 out of 5, 2 2s, and 3 3s. There was nothing good in this season. I did not like any of these episodes. At best, I thought most episodes had at least one good joke in there, but man, this was such a slog. I shouldn't say slog because it is thankfully short, but man, I just did not enjoy watching these episodes. I think the biggest problem is just how negative the show is. It's such a bummer, and I get that's how offices in real life are, but guess what? I don't want to watch a show about that. The main 4 aren't likable. I don't honestly care about any of them. Michael's annoying and self-centered. Dwight is annoying and self-centered and is a suck-up. Jim and Pam aren't as bad, but Pam is just kind of the boring introvert, and Jim's just the generic everyman chill guy who obviously is in love with Pam, but Pam's in a relationship. And this is the middle of the 2000s. I feel like even by then this trope was done, but people love it apparently. Don't really have much to say, in all honesty. That I did not enjoy this season. It was negative. I felt like all the characters just hated each other and just did not want to be around each other, and that just does not make for a good show. I hope if I ever eventually get around to doing seasons 2 through 9, which I might do. I'm not even super connected to The Office. I only did this in the first place because, again, my mom and especially my brother love this show. So I kind of want to get into it too, but I'm sorry, I did not care for Office Season 1. But again, that's fine. Personal opinions. If you like Season 1, please tell me why. I actually would really like to share opinions. As long as we're all respectful, I think sharing opinions can be fun. I have heard a lot of Office fans say that Season 1's one of the weaker seasons, and that starting with Season 2 it gets good. And then towards the end of Season 7, when Michael leaves, is apparently when the show gets worse. Again, I'll need to see it for myself. All I know is that I do not enjoy Season 1 of The Office. I guess I can give you the ranking. None of it's good, though. Hot Girl is very obviously at the bottom as the only 1 out of 5. For 2 out of 5s, we have Diversity Day and then Healthcare. And then for the top 3, which were the 3 out of 5s, the ones that were okay. Best I was able to push. Really hope you guys at least appreciate that, even if I can't say I enjoyed it. And again, much like with King of the Hill fans, because I was a bit more meaner on that show too, although definitely not to this extent. Please do not hate me in the comments just because you like this season. Again, if you're respectful, I'm totally willing to talk about the show, and maybe even you could tell, without being too spoilery, you could tell me some reasons why you like Office. I want this channel to be a good community where people could just talk without hate. But then again, this is YouTube slash the internet in general, so there's always going to be some hatred, okay? People can't just respect each other's opinions. This is Z-Man Reviews, and I don't know why I ended this by making a whole... But this was pretty much just rough teenish of some guy just hating on the first season of one of the most popular shows of all time.